Hey everyone, welcome to my home studio here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today I'm going to be going over the Line 6 Helix preset that I've been using on the road for the past, almost a year. It's the one that I'm currently using on tour with Israel Houghton. It's the go-to, it's the one that has kind of a catch-all of all the effects that I'm using, different options for delays and drives and all those things. And today we're going to go over kind of the effect order that I have, and how I'm using the external pedals with the expression pedals, all filtering through the Helix. And hopefully it is informative, it's educational. If you're thinking about going to the digital route, it'll maybe shed some light on some questions you may have. There'll be some tone examples. I'll be playing a little bit. The guitar I'm using today is my early 90s Epiphone Sheridan, the Cherry Burst. It's been, the Dark Cherry Burst. It's been my favorite guitar that I've had almost for a decade now, and it just feels right in my hand. It's my favorite. Got upgraded PAF humbuckers in it, so it's gonna be a good time. Hopefully, if you have any questions, I'll be able to answer them. If I don't answer them, hit me up, and I'll do a response video and try to get as much covered as I can. So hope you enjoyed. All right, let's get going. All right, so here is the live pedal board that I've been using for almost 2 years now. Once I switched to the Helix, I kind of had a plan. I wanted to have a few outboard pedals and all the, take advantage of as much of the Helix as I can. So real quick, just kind of go through it all. Obviously the Helix, but then this is expression pedal number 1, expression pedal number 2, outboard tuner. And then I have a outboard compressor that will change kind of depending on the gig or the artist that I'm playing for, or the instrument I'm playing. So on bass, I use this, and certain guitars this sounds great on, certain guitars that sounds great on. So it always, it's nice to have the ability to switch it up. After that, I go into the Helix from the compressor, it does all the processing and whatnot, and out of one of the 4 effects loops, I'm hitting the visual sound VSXO pedal. Now, that is being controlled via this right here. So it's, turning on and off the loop. That's all it is. So that's, basic clean tone, middle position, bridge, neck. But the cool thing is I have it set to where if I dig in, it'll break up. Turn that on, activates the VSXO. So, pedal of the day, that gets changed all the time. Literally, it's constantly getting flipped over. Whether it's bass, I typically use that because it's just one of the greatest and they don't make it anymore, so I use that. Every now and then, the gem comes out and I'll use that. But it really just kind of depends on the gig, the artist, the song, the style, studio world, if they require different things. So anyway, let's dive into the actual preset, what I'm using. So I go in from the compressor into, now the Helix works top to bottom like that. So like you're reading a book almost. So I go in and I go to a tuner. So I do one of the sends out of the effects loop, so where the tuner is on all the time, regardless of, volume pedal up or down, just like a traditional analog, pedal board. You push the volume pedal down. Normally you can tune silently. I like having it on all the time just because it's nice to be able to check a note if you bend up to something, or if you just want to make sure that you're not the one out of tune. It's just good to be able to, nope, it's not me, all that. So then after that, I hit a wah pedal, which really, I don't do the whole shaft, waka chicka waka chicka. I don't do all that. It's typically, I learned this from the great guitar player Chris LaCourte, the long sweeps. And if this was on the floor, I could show you some pretty cool tricks and things that I've learned with it, but I don't use the guitar, I don't use the wah pedal like a Jimi Hendrix style. It's really, you know, when I need to take it up a level, I'll hit it and just kind of sweep the whole frequency like that. So you're welcome, that note was for free. So that is, if you push in the volume pedal, it activates the wah pedal, which is, I think, what all Line 6 pod stuff has done since the beginning. So turn that off. It goes back to being a volume pedal, which is great. After that, I hit a tremolo. Now the tremolo can be controlled via tap tempo or free standing, like most are. Now the cool thing with this is I have, as you see here, it says Reverb. And if you were to press that, it turns on a tremolo and verb, very similar to the Flint. You know, or if I want to, I can put it on to, you know, 8th note and tap it in. It's really fun if you want to actually do that. You can do the little side chain action, like intensity all the way up. And you can ride that tap tempo the whole time, stay nice and synced with your drummer or your tracks. It just kind of puts you in the aux key role even more. So after that, we go to the pitch. It literally puts it an octave above. Simple as that. The polyphony on the Helix is sadly not what I wish it was. If you were to do a major third, it kind of gets a little squirrely sometimes. Yeah, see? So typically just for lead lines, stuff like that. After that, we get to the drive section. Now, their clone in this is pretty outstanding. So, neck position, humbucker. Bridge. And it cleans up really well too. You know, after that, we hit the pedal of the day, which always gets changed. And I have this up on a little riser to get it at the same height as the Helix, so I can kind of switch it up if it's a dual channel thing or if it's another pedal similar to the Flint or something like that. I'm able to reach it with my foot once I turn it on via that. After that, I go to the Space Echo. Now this thing is just awesome. I love it. I have it before the amp, so it's mono. Mix a little bit, just so you can really hear that warble. In conjunction with the Reverb. Great squishy tape delay. It's on the latest firmware for the Helix and it's been great. After that, hit the volume pedal. Now we come to the big one, the amp. I use the Matchless or the Matchstick one. It's a really clever name, but it's technically a Matchless DC30. And the thing that you have to realize in digital world, it's not the same thing as the real world. So your cut, your treble, your bass, you really have to make sure that you are exploring all options. So right now it's almost stock. I kind of messed with the drive level and the presence and the EQ a little bit, but man, that's in a PA and a mix, it just seems to be the one that works for me, you know, on this guitar, this setting. Really responsive. You know, now the cab, now we jump down from the top all the way down to the bottom. The cab is the Celestion impulse responses. Go check those out. Those are definitely worth it if you have a Helix. So I'm using the Marshall 1960 slant cab. It's a 412, it's a Marshall, has greenbacks in it, and it's done with a SM57. I don't know where on the cone it is, but on those IRs, you can literally go from the center of the cone all the way out to the edge and just find the one that works for you. It makes sense. I use that, a little bit of low cutoff just to get rid of that part of the guitar tone. And that is a technical term. Then we get, from that point, it splits to stereo. That's where post amp, if you were to put things in the effects loop of 2 amps, I have it, mono, kind of cutting down the mix, like cutting right down the center of a mix. But then if I'm running stereo, which I normally am, it really just spreads it post amp and keeps it really nice and clean without using 2 amps. It's nice. So from here we hit the chorus, and it's the typical traditional, like I think it's the Boss chorus pedal they used and modeled all the components. It's a component modeling system. So they did resistor into capacitor into this, into that, into this tone pot, into that, and they read all that information. Way more nerdy stuff than I know how to really process, but it makes it feel right, and it gives you the full range of every knob that you turn. So you can run it in classic mode, classic chorusing, where chorus is only coming out of one side. Or you can run true stereo. After that, then it goes to the Verb from the Trem Verb. So it's a nice mono tremolo stereo Verb. All right, cool. After that, then, let's see here. It goes to a boost. Now, Han Solo, because it literally just takes my sound that I have and bumps it up 3 dB. Now, it may not sound like a lot, but post amp, 3 dB does a lot. So say we're raging. It definitely just takes what you have and raises it. After that, then I go to what's real fun is the danger zone. And all this is, it turns on a tape delay and maxes the feedback out all in one button, momentarily. Just like that. So Israel Houghton's latest, one of his first singles off the record was a song called Reckless Love. And if you listen to his arrangement, the choruses have this incredible like synth envelope opening literally between every single chord. So I had to figure out a way to do that live as best I can on guitar. So I could do and it kind of simulated a little bit of the record, getting it as close to as I can, still keeping it fun and guitar oriented. Now that's a stereo delay, so it kind of just, you hear more of the modulation on the stereo side of things. Sorry for my hands, just, the terminology helps. After that, then we get into the 2 stereo delays that I'm running. The first one, it's the Memory Man. The Memory Man in this one is just great. And of course it's set to dotted eighth because Edge and Bono and U2 and all those, really, it just sounds great as a dotted eighth delay. A little bit of noise on there, which is, you can get really noisy with it actually. It's kind of annoying, so I just keep it real low. The spread, it's, you know, you really hear more of the modulation on the side. The cool thing with these delay pedals is they have a thing called scale. So if you run it at 100%, it's dot, dot right down the middle. And then the more in between, so 50%, it literally starts ping-ponging. Right? So I treat it as a lot of studio engineers do. You hit a delay and one is, instead of just being right on together, God, fingers look just all sorts of, let's do this. Instead of both being right down the middle, one just literally is delayed slightly. And it makes your signal actually sound a little thicker and wider without having to do, you know, total ping-ponging. Sometimes it gets lost in the mix, and guitar players hate to hear that because it sounds great to us in our in-ears, but in a mix, man, live setting, most people are really only hearing a mono signal, technically, if you think about it. Unless you're sitting dead center right in front of the soundboard, you're sitting on one side of the PA. So why not just go for the slightly thicker tone as opposed to getting half your signal lost? That's just my opinion on it. After that, it goes into it's just a standard mod chorus echo that they have in the Helix, because delay typically just sounds like dot, 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 dot. It's delay. That's all. So there's my quarter note. Now this is where the expression pedals start coming into play, because from here, I have this controlling my mix and feedback. So when I press this down, which I know is backwards, the mix goes up and the feedback goes up. Typically affected. It makes it a little louder. But if you're running two delays, as a lot of people do, you know, it can get real messy real fast. So it's good when you just hit it and you need to hold that note. Just kind of let it get washed out. That's how I use it. Now, the last, as you see, the reverb here is always on. Because, one, I typically like reverb on amps, and I would always have just a little bit, just to kind of give it that spongy live feel. And if you turn it up, it turns up the mix and the decay simultaneously. Turn it back down. And as opposed to all that. So that's how I'm using those two. This is always typically reverb trails and mix. This is always delay and mix feedback. So that's how I'm doing it. On the latest Shred Fest that you heard, it honestly was the pedal of the day, the wet, and delay number one. That's it. And, you know, that's it. So I know that was kind of a crash course real quick, but oh, and lastly, the output block. In today's episode, I'm running 1/4 inch out line level into the whole, interface and into Logic and all that. But typically live, I'm running the XLR because it's way easier just to ask the, production crew, just be like, hey, can I just get 2 lines? And don't need DIs, don't need nothing else. Just give me the lines. Or I have a Snake that I have everything run, all nice and neat and organized. And yeah. So that is the kind of the catch-all preset that I'm using right now. And it changes slightly per artist. Sometimes the wet will get changed out for a rotary thing, or if it'll get changed out to, maybe like an envelope filter, something more funky or whatever. But hopefully this has been not outrageously boring, but a little bit into how I'm using it. Lastly, every now and then, if you get to a show and the monitor just, if you're using a live wedge or something, it can get a little bassy. So if you press and hold bypass, it turns on and off the global EQ. My global EQ is flat except for low cut and high cut. So I shave off about 90% or 90 hertz. So I high pass up to 90 hertz and a low pass down to 13, because sometimes digital modeling stuff can get really crispy really fast. So hit me up if you got any questions. I know this is quick and kind of a crash course, but this is what I'm using, and I hope you enjoyed. Later.